السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله على إحسانه والشكر له على تفضله وامتنانه، ولا إله إلا الله تعظيما لشأنه، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله داعي إلى رضوانه وعلى آله وأصحابه وإخوانه. أما بعد، يقول ربنا سبحانه وتعالى: فهل ينظرون إلا الساعة أن تأتيهم بغتة فقد جاء أشراطها فأنى لهم إذا جاءتهم ذكراهم. إخواني في الله, we're continuing with our lecture series regarding the signs of the Day of Judgment. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, فَقَدْ جَاءَ أَشْرَاطُهَا, that verily the signs of the Day of Judgment have appeared. Sign number 23. Sign number 23, تَقَارُبُ الزَّمَانِ. Time will move very fast. Sign number 23, time will move very fast. Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu narrates that the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, he says, لا تقوم الساعة حتى يتقارب الزمان. رواه البخاري. He says that the hour, the day of judgment will not come until time will move very fast. The time will move very fast. In a different hadith, as narrated by Imam Ahmad, he says, لا تقوم الساعة حتى يتقارب الزمان. That the hour will not come until time will move very fast. فتكون السنة كشهر. 1 year will be like 1 month. ويكون الشهر كجمعة. 1 month will be like 1 week. فتكون الجمعة كيوم, and 1 week will be like 1 day. فيكون يوم كساعة, and 1 day will be like 1 hour. فتكون الساعة كاحتراق سعفة, and 1 hour will be like burning of straw. So, Ikhwani fillah, from the signs of the Day of Judgment is that time will move very fast. The scholars have a number of explanations regarding this. The first explanation, they say that قِلَّةُ الْبَرَكَةِ فِي الزَّمَانِ, there shall be less barakah in our time. And this is something that we have seen clearly in our time, Ikhwani fillah. We can clearly feel how fast time is going for us. Sometimes you read how the previous Muslims were, and you're amazed. How are they able to do all this with the time they have? We have 24 hours like they had 24 hours. But how much were they able to achieve in a single day, this Salafus Salih? Wallah, it is really amazing. When you hear, for example, that Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal al-Shaybani rahimahullah, he used to pray in a single day 300 rak'ah sunnah. Voluntary prayers, every day he used to pray 300 voluntary prayers. And when he was beaten up by Al-Mu'tasim, he reduced it to 150. You get amazed when you hear that they say, كان في التابعين 30 تابعيا لو قيل لأحدهم إن القيامة ستقوم غدا لما استطاع يزيد شيئا من العمل. When the scholars, they say, from the generation that came after the Sahaba, the Tabi'een, there were 30 of them. If you would say to them that the Day of Judgment is tomorrow, they will not be able to add anything to their good deeds. Their timetable was full. Barakah was in all their waqt. You get amazed with someone like Sulaiman al-Taymi rahimahullah. The scholars, they say that Sulaiman al-Taymi, anytime you come to see him, you'll find him obeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If it is a time for prayer, you'll find him making wudu and performing the prayer. If you find him in a time other than prayer, where prayer is not allowed, you find him making tasbih, making istighfar, and making ibadah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Amazing was the state of the righteous Muslims. You have someone like Hammad ibn Salama. Hammad ibn Salama, every time ibadah, 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 until his colleagues used to say, وَكُنَّا نَظُنُّ أَنَّهُ لَا يُحْسِنُ أَن يَعْصِيَ اللَّهَ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ. We used to consider this man unable to disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Every time you find him in worship, لو قيل له إن القيامة غدا لما استطاع يزيد من العمل شيئا. If you say to him that the Day of Judgment is tomorrow, he'll not be able to add anything from the good deeds. If I and you are told Qiyamah is next week, you have 1 week to live, what are you going to do? You have 1 week to live, what are you going to do? Make istighfar, make a lot of salah, make a lot of sadaqah, make a lot of ibadah. But this of the righteous Muslims, every day they used to treat like the last day in this dunya. So they didn't have any waste of time. Barakah was there in the time. You have a man, Al-Qadi Abu Yusuf. Imam Abu Hanifa passed away in the year 150 of the Hijri calendar. This great Imam is the most followed Imam in terms of the madhabs. We have 4 madhabs. The madhab that is the most followed is the madhab of Imam Nu'man ibn Thabit Abu Hanifa. He passed away in the year 150 of the Hijri calendar. He has 2 great students who are so great in status that are not even called his students. They are called his companions or his colleagues. The first one is Al-Qadi Abu Yusuf, Yaqub ibn Ibrahim al-Ansari. And the second is Muhammad al-Shaybani. So this first Al-Qadi is the first person who was known as Qadi al-Qudat fi dunya. He was born in the year 113 of the Hijri calendar and he died in the year 182 of the Hijri calendar. Al-Qadi Abu Yusuf. This man used to be with the Imam Abu Hanifa like this. One day it was said to him that your son has passed away. Al-Qadi Abu Yusuf, his son passed away. He says, I was not present في جهازه ولا في دفنه. In his preparation for his funeral, I was not able to be present, not even to pray the Salatul Janazah for him. تركته عند جيراني. I left him with my neighbors مخافة أن يفوتني من أبي حنيفة شيء, because I was afraid I will miss a class from the class of Abu Hanifa. Look how much barakah they had in that time. His son has passed away and he says to his neighbors, my son has passed away, I cannot do anything. You take my son, wash him, do the kafan for him, do the Salatul Janazah. As for myself, I have to rush to the class of the Imam Abu Hanifa Nu'man ibn Thabit. How much barakah was there in that time? Imam al-Shafi'i rahimahullah, he used to divide his night into 3. The first part of the night, he writes his notes. The second part of the night, he prays the Qiyamul Layl. And the third part, he sleeps. How then will there not be barakah in their time? A person like Imam al-Nawawi rahimahullah, Imam Abu Zakaria, Yahya ibn Sharaf al-Nawawi rahimahullah, he died at the age of 45 in the year 676 of the Hijri calendar. Died in the year 676 of the Hijri calendar. This Imam is one of the greatest scholars of Islam from the madhab of the Imam Shafi'i. Every house you go from the house of the Muslims, every country you go to, you shall find a book from the books of Imam Nawawi. You shall find Riyadh al-Salihin. You shall find Arba'in al-Nawawiyah. You shall find Al-Majmu'. You shall find the books of this great man. But this man started seeking knowledge at a very late age. Started in his late 20s seeking knowledge. And he used to hardly sleep at night, rahimahullah. And he died at the age of 45, وَلَمْ يَتَزَوَّجْ, and he was not able to get even the chance of marrying and leaving a family. Look how much barakah there was on their time. They had the same 24 hours as us, but we are not like them. Ikhwani fillah, when you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for Jannah, ask Him for Firdaus, but also be aware that Firdaus has competition. وَفِي ذَلِكَ فَلْيَتَنَافَسِ الْمُتَنَافِسُونَ. And upon that, the people should compete. People passed away, ikhwani fillah, and they had a'mal kal-jibal. They had mountains of good deeds. What about myself and yourself? حلف الزمان لا يأتين بمثلهم حنثت يمينك يا زمان فكفري أولئك آبائي فجئني بمثلهم. So ikhwani fillah, from the signs of the day of judgment, لا تقوم الساعة حتى يتقارب الزمان. رواه البخاري. The hour will not be established until time moves very fast. Time moves very fast. The scholars, they say this has a number of meanings. Number 1, it will move very fast. It will not have any barakah. You still have the same 24 hours as those Muslims those days, but you do not have the same barakah in your waqt. You do not have the same blessing that those people had in their waqt. This is the first explanation. The second explanation is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make the time move very fast. So much so that 1 year will be equivalent to 1 month. 1 month will be equivalent to 1 week. 1 week will be equivalent to 1 day. And this is happening before the day of judgment. So these are the 2 meanings of this hadith. So this is sign number 23. The Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, he says, لا تقوم الساعة حتى يتقارب الزمان. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَوْ أَنَّ أَهْلَ الْقُرَىٰ آمَنُوا وَاتَّقَوْا لَفَتَحْنَا عَلَيْهِمْ بَرَكَاتٍ مِنَ السَّمَاءِ وَالْأَرْضِ. Allah says, if the people of the village, they believed and they feared Allah, they had taqwa of Allah, Allah will bring for him barakah from the heavens and the earth. And from the barakah that Allah brings down is al-waqt. He gives blessing in time. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is great. And if He swears with something in the Quran, that thing is great. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the entire Quran, you find Him many times, He swears. He says, wal asr. He says, wal duha. He says, wal layl. He says, wal nahar. He says, wal shams. He swears upon the time. Shows that this time is something great. It is the most valuable possession we have, ikhwani fillah. So we have to look at this time. And from the signs of the Day of Judgment is that 1 year will feel like 1 month. 1 month will feel like 1 week. 1 week will feel like 1 day. And 1 day will feel like 1 hour. Time will lose its blessings. Time will move very fast. You'll be born just the other day. You're married. You've gotten children and you've died. Time has moved very fast for us. We can remember events from 30 years ago like it was yesterday. Some of us are very young, but we're talking these days of 25 years ago, 28 years ago, 30 years ago. That's how fast time is moving. Sign number 24. Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, he says, in the hadith of Abu Hurairah, he says, لا تقوم الساعة حتى تظهر الفتن ويكثر الكذب وتتقارب الأسواق. He says that the hour will not be established until there shall be a lot of fitna. There shall be a lot of trials and tribulations in this ummah. There shall be a lot of lies. People will be lying. It's so easy for people to lie. And he continues, he says, وتتقارب الأسواق. That the markets will become very close. The markets will become very close. And this is something we can see clearly in our time. This is the first time in history where communication and transport has become very easy. Distances that people used to, our grandfathers and our great-grandfathers, they used to prepare for months. For example, if they go to Umrah. You can go to Umrah tonight. Today it's Sunday night. Monday, tomorrow evening, you're back in Nairobi. Or Tuesday morning. So from the signs of the Day of Judgment is that the markets will become very close, so much so it is like one market. Like the world is one market. And this is something clearly happening in our times. Why? Because of the transport links and the communication. For example, right now, something like oil. Oil is being traded in the international market. There's no way you can buy oil. I'm not talking with the taxes, before the taxes. There's no way you can buy crude oil in Japan, for example, and you get it cheaper than you get it in America. The price of the entire world is one price. Gold. What is the price of gold currently? About $60 a gram, for example, or $55 a gram. The same price you get here in Kenya is the same price you get it in China, the same price you get it in Brussels, the same price you get in Brazil. So this is one marketplace, and this is from the signs of the Day of Judgment. The Prophet ﷺ says, لا تقوم الساعة حتى تتقارب الأسواق, that the markets will become very close. The scholars, they say this has 3 meanings. The first meaning, سرعة العلم بما يكون فيها من زيادة السعر ونقصانه. People will have knowledge of things that are happening in other parts of the world regarding prices, regarding supply, regarding demand. All this knowledge shall be available in any part of the world, with the internet, with the mobile phones, with the newspapers. This information will be everywhere. The second part, he says, the scholar, سرعة السير من السوق إلى السوق. You can purchase anything right now. You don't need to purchase anything in Nairobi. I can be here and buy something in which country? You can buy in Dubai, in China. There are many apps. You can go to Alibaba. There's Amazon. There's eBay. All this is just at the click of a button, and I can buy anything from the world. Anything small. I can buy a book. I can buy a car. I can buy stock for my shop. I can buy any part of the world. So from the signs of the Day of Judgment is that the market will become like one market, and this is what we are seeing clearly in our times. And this also, once again, I repeat, and we repeat every time, shows the truthfulness of the message of the Prophet ﷺ. He clearly says this will happen, and we have seen with our own eyes happening. Sign number 25, and it's the final sign we're taking in this lecture, ikhwan fillah, ظهور الشرك في هذه الأمة. We as Muslims will have shirk appearing once again in our lands. People who were born with names of Muhammad, of Abdullah, of Fatima and such, shall become polytheists. They shall be worshipping other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is one of the signs of the Day of Judgment. The Shaykh says something interesting. He says, هذا من العلامات التي ظهرت. This is from the signs that has already appeared. وهي في ازدياد, and it continues increasing. فقد وقع الشرك في هذه الأمة. Shirk has appeared in this ummah, this nation. وَلَحِقَتْ قَبَائِلُ مِنْهَا بِالْمُشْرِكِينَ, and some tribes of the Muslims have joined the polytheists, the mushrikeen. وَعَبَدُوا الْأَوْثَانِ, and they started worshipping the false gods. وَبَنَوُا الْمَشَاهِدَ عَلَى الْقُبُورِ, and they started building on graves. وَعَبَدُوهَا مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ, and they worshipped it other than Allah. وَقَصَدُوهَا لِلتَّبَرُّكِ وَالتَّقْبِيلِ وَالتَّعْظِيمِ, and they went to these graves to seek blessings, to kiss it, and to honor it other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَقَدَّمُوا لَهَا النُّذُورِ, and they made sacrifices, they made worship in these graves. وَأَقَامُوا لَهَا الْأَعْيَادِ, and they did festivals in these graves. وَكَثِيرٌ مِنْهَا بِمَنْزِلَةِ اللَّاتِ وَالْعُزَّى وَمَنَاةَ وَعَدَمْ شِرْكَ, and this is the same shirk as the people of Quraysh. إخواني في الله, shirk is the worst sins. إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَغْفِرُ أَن يُشْرَكَ بِهِ وَيَغْفِرُ مَا دُونَ ذَلِكَ لِمَنْ يَشَاءُ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can forgive any sin apart that of shirk. Shirk, Allah created you. How then do you worship other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And you find people, the same argument that was used 1,000 years ago, 10,000 years ago by the mushrikeen is the same argument. مَا نَعْبُدُهُمْ إِلَّا لِيُقَرِّبُنَا إِلَى اللَّهِ زُلْفَى. We do not worship them except that we want them to bring us closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Are you together? Every mushrik, this is their reason. They want to reach Allah. But they say, we cannot make dua straight to Allah. We have to go through someone. Are we together? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what does He say? Tell us in the Quran. Udu'uni astajib lakum. Make dua to me, I shall answer you. Not to Allat wal Uzza wa Manat. Don't say Ya Hussein, Ya Ali, Ya Abdul Qadir al-Jilani, Ya Ahmed al-Badawi, Ya who? Mirza Ghulam Ahmed. Why are you making dua to these people? These are only creations. On the Day of Judgment, they shall disbelieve and disavow your worship. They are not going to accept that you worship them. وَإِذَا حُشِرَ النَّاسُ كَانُوا لَهُمْ أَعْدَاءً وَكَانُوا بِعِبَادَتِهِمْ كَافِرِينَ. On the Day of Judgment, they shall refuse that you used to worship them. You go and say, Hussein, we used to make dua to you. Wallah, there's a time I was doing tawaf in Kaaba, and I saw these people from Lebanon. They're wearing yellow, the Hizbullah wa Shaitan. They were making tawaf, and they say in Kaaba, the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where you should make dua to Allah. Yet they were saying, Ya Hussein, in the Kaaba. I'm trying to tell them, Ya Allah, قُلْ لَا subhanallah. And they're saying, Ya Hussein. This is shirk. And this is shirk the Prophet ﷺ said will appear in this ummah. Muslims will make dua to other than Allah. You go to the graveyards, you find in some countries, they have built mosques on graves. And they're making dua to these people in the graves. The awliya, as they claim. These people cannot harm you. They cannot benefit you. Make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who created them the same way He created you. There's no special place. There's no ministers. There's no corruption when it comes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You don't need to look for wasa'it. You don't need to look for people to assist you. Make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ask Him for anything and you shall find Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the most generous, the most merciful. Ask Him anything. Ask Him, oh Allah, I want socks. The Salaf used to ask for everything, including the salt they keep in their food. Allah should be your best friend. Talk to Allah. Why are you feeling ashamed to talk to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Why are you thinking so low of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you have to go through people? You have to go through the creation to worship Allah. That you reach a level where you build a stone or a piece of wood and you say, I'm going to worship this as Allah. Or some of them used to take dates and they make for themselves a god of dates. Then they worship. Then they get hungry, then they start eating the dates. Subhanallah. أين ذهبت العقول? Where is the brain going to? So from the signs of the Day of Judgment is people of this ummah shall worship other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They shall commit shirk. Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, he says, إذا وضع السيف في أمتي لم يرفع عنها إلى يوم القيامة. when the Muslims start killing each other, this will continue until the day of judgment. And this started at the time of Uthman ibn Affan with his killing. The Muslims are going to fight each other, kill each other until the day of judgment. وَالْقَاتِلُ وَالْمَقْتُولُ فِي النَّارِ. And the one who's killed and the one who's killing will all go to the hellfire. In a different hadith he says عليه الصلاة والسلام وَلَا تَقُومُ السَّاعَةِ حَتَّى تَلْحَقَ قَبَائِلُ مِنْ أُمَّتِ بِالْمُشْرِكِينَ. And the hour will not be established until a tribe from my ummah shall join the mushrikeen, the polytheists. وَحَتَّى تَعْبُدَ قَبَائِلُ مِنْ أُمَّتِ الْأَوْثَانِ. And tribes of my ummah shall worship false gods. In a different hadith, he says to Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, he says, لا تقوم الساعة حتى تضطرب آليات نساء الدوس حول ذي الخلسة. That the hour will not come until, O Abu Hurairah, the women from your tribe, the tribe of those, they shall be shaking their, what is the correct word? I don't know, the respectful word. They'll be shaking their backsides in worship of this false god, Dhu Khalasa. And this happened at the time of Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab al-Tamimi rahimahullah. He found that people in the tribe of Dos is from Yemen. And Yemen historically starts from after Taif. After Taif, all this land of Jayzan and Najran, all this land is considered Yemen. So the people used to worship false gods. Every area you have your own god. So you had people in other areas worshipping Al-Lat, other areas worship Al-Uzza, Al-Manat, and this tribe of Ad-Daws, of the tribe of Abu Hurairah, his name is Abdurrahman ibn Sakhr al-Dawsi, they used to worship this sanam called Dhu Khalasa. And it was destroyed at the time of the Sahaba. Centuries later, when knowledge of Islam got lost, they started worshipping it again. In the Arabic Peninsula, people who had Islamic names started worshipping this false god called Dhu Khalasa. So much so that the women used to make tawaf with their backside shaking towards this false god. So until Muhammad ibn Wahhab joined with Muhammad ibn Saud and he started the da'wah of Tawheed again, and he passed away, Muhammad ibn Saud, Abdul Aziz, his son, Ibn Muhammad ibn Saud, went and destroyed parts of this sanam. And people stopped worshipping it again. When the first Saudi government fell in the 19th century, or is it 18th century? 19th century, the people started worshipping it again until about 100 years ago when it was destroyed. So as mentioned in the Prophet ﷺ, that Muslims from this ummah shall worship that idol in particular, it has happened in the last 100 years. And this is from the signs of the day of judgment, that tribes from this ummah shall start worshipping false gods. Shirk shall appear in this land. In the next lecture, inshallah, we shall look at sign number 26 from the minor signs of the day of judgment. Wallahu alam. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.